We have another question over here.
I just wanted to comment about that question because if you look at history, Christianity has done the same thing. Think of all the wars in Europe, whether it was Protestants versus Catholics, people killed people right and left. And think of what Christians did to the Jews. They annihilated them for political purposes. You know, there's one city in Austria where they wanted to build a church in the downtown area where the Jews were. Do you know what they did? They set fire to that whole community, wiped it out, and they built a church, which I think is abominable. But this just goes to show that people can get these ideas, and they're not religion. They're political, they're for personal gain, but they're using the religion to seek their own means. So I don't think, and all religions have the same problems because all religions have people who for some reason use the religion to achieve political or personal gain.
I'd like to respond to that because I think that was quite beautiful. You know, I've almost quit thinking in terms of Islam or Christianity or Judaism and focus on Muslims, Christians, and Jews. You know what I mean? Because if you want to know about Islam, talk to a Muslim. I mean, it's so bizarre that we would go to other sources that are not Muslims to try to understand them. Same thing with Christianity. You want to know, ask a Christian. Then you get to deal with a very interesting phenomenon. There are going to be different views. That's why one of my dear friends, John Esposito and Ivan Haddad, say, they're experts on Islam, they say, there's no Islam. There are Islams because you have different groups who are kind of interpreting, right? And often what we see is ignoring some wonderfully humane verses or ayah within the Quran. I mean, for me, Surah Al-Baqarah, I mean, the second surah, the longest surah in the Quran says, "Seest thou one who denies the faith? Such is the one who treats the orphan with harshness and encourages not the feeding of the poor." That's not a terrorist manifesto, right? On the other hand, I had a friend whose family member was killed by the KKK. And where I didn't know much about the KKK, so I finally met an individual who was involved in that organization, and I asked them rather bluntly, because I'm consider myself a New Yorker, where are you getting that? You call yourself a Christian organization because Jesus said, "I came not to bring peace, but a sword." What did he do? He totally misinterpreted that verse. And we see Muslims totally misinterpreting Quran, or non-Muslims, deliberately misinterpreting Quran, or just ignorantly interpreting it because that's what they hear from the media or whatever. I would really, really encourage you, talk to a Muslim. They don't bite usually. They're wonderfully nice people, usually.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to thank you, Dr. Anwar, for putting on this thing tonight and continuing my own personal education. I want to ask about two. I wanted to make a comment, then ask a question. It seems to me that when I was looking at the traits that you had up and the various tendencies and traits, I was struck by the commonalities between these groups and what in America we have called gangs.
Yep.
And I was also struck that these are very tribalistic,
Yep.
Replacing the family,
Yep.
And superseding the family and the teachings of the family. Number one. And number two, I just never get this, and I still don't know the answer to this. And sitting here tonight, you've given me a better definition of what a terrorist is, but I still don't get what is the purpose of terrorism. And you just said it's about instilling terror, but what is the purpose of instilling terror? I don't get it. I don't get 9/11. I don't get the Boston Massacre, the Boston Marathon thing. So what good does it do somebody to make me afraid?
I'm not going to answer the question because I'm going to have others do it, but I wanted to recognize that that's our Senator LeBeau, who's been an extremely influential person to help bring more economic support to the entire state of Connecticut, but more so to a few of our towns, including South Windsor. So I want to thank you because you've been an enormous help to our town with all the support. But I'll have the others answer the question.
Well, you know, I'm fitting right into the stereotype as the woman who talks too much. What am I going to do? All right, so if, well, maybe I will get this slide up, maybe not. So if you look at, if you remember one of the slides, and I don't know if there's a way to put it up or not, of when, this was the data from the freedom fighters in Iraq, and the 2,000 the foreign fighters. Different people go in there for different reasons, whether it is identity or, you know, whatever it is that drives them, ideology. But I think one of the good problems that you have, and that I hopefully, you know, all of us have, is we don't get how that can please anybody. But there are ways the mind works that we don't fully understand. For example, what is it that makes one person value and love and enjoy a child, that, like all of us do? And a similar person who looks the same can do horrible things to that same child. What is it that makes us different? It is complex, and, you know, the psychodynamic psychologists will have a theory, and you will have a theory, and I will have a theory, but at the end of the day, these are all theories. And I think it's probably our goal should be to try and look for patterns that reduce these things instead of trying to understand everything, because I don't think we will ever understand. I mean, I don't even understand my 13-year-old son, okay? I have tried, unsuccessfully. So, and he and I, we spend a lot of time together, and I have, you know, a board certification, so we don't fully understand what goes on in the mind.
Thank you. Jamie Bartlett, he's the head of the Violence and Extremism and one of the think tanks, was recently quoted in the Rolling Stone magazine article as saying that associating radicalization with terrorism is a mistake. And the distinction he makes are some of the similar distinctions you made in your presentations, but you kind of blurred the line between radicalization and terrorism, which he disagrees with, which he says causes preventive policing, because if I see somebody wear high pants, I think they're radicalized, hence I must police them.
Right.
Any comments on that?
Who do you want? Who do you want for this one?
I fully agree, and that's why I kind of, we have to have something. And I do like those vulnerability factors, to look at that. We do have to be careful. I mean, those are generalizations, right? And so you're going to have some false positives there. So we do have to be, you know, we do have to be careful. I absolutely agree that we should not blur the line between radicalization and terrorism. If we had had 3 more hours, we may have been able to kind of draw those distinctions, but I think we really need to make very clear distinctions that, and I like what they were talking about, I fully agree, that we need to look at this as process, right? And look at how we can intervene all along the process in the hope that we divert people from getting into terrorism as an endpoint, right?
Can I jump in and just add? And now wearing a hat as a community member who's a Muslim, I don't want to blur those lines. The reason is that if there are enough people who are radicalized, there is enough risk of somebody becoming a terrorist. So while theoretically you can say that there could be a terrorist who's not radicalized, but I know that the likelihood is going to be higher if it's a radicalized individual. So to me, anybody who is not violent but has extremist views which are towards hatred for the other, I intervene. I would speak. I would do whatever it takes to actually help them recognize that there's more in this world that they don't understand and realize, and I would intervene as a community member, because to me, even having the thoughts of hatred for the other is too much. So that's how I look at it, but from a law enforcement point of view, I totally agree. It's not for the law enforcement to start to define people who are radicalized or not. It's for the community to look at it. And it's not policing, it's preventing in some ways.
Thank you.